Hey everybody, this is Renae Lipsmeyer from The Space Between, and you're listening to The Space Between podcast, the show that lets you listen to how the fans feel about the music, the art behind 31 years of the Dave Matthews Band. Stay tuned.
Hey guys, this is Renae from the Space Between podcast. Thank you so much for, number one, finding this podcast. It must mean that you like the Dave Matthews Band, or at least I hope that's why you're here, because if you're here for really any other reason, you're about to be disappointed. And I just want to give that disclaimer like right up front. I'm going to talk about Dave Matthews Band. So if you've never heard of them, you're going to hear a great story about a band that has literally changed my life, but not only just my life, but thousands, just like countless of thousands of other people that call themselves fans, of course, of the Dave Matthews Band. So welcome to the Space Between podcast. Again, my name is Renae. I am just a nurse who got fed up with nursing, after COVID and all of the things that have been going on in the world the last couple years. I took a year off from my professional career as a nurse to chase my dreams and figure out what was going to make me happy instead of focusing all of my attention on other people, right? But what really turned out, because here's what I found out about myself. I love to love on others. I have a heart for other people, and I love to hear people's stories. So when I say that I took a break from my professional career as a nurse for a year, really what I did was just kind of change how I was loving on people, right? I just started listening to people, but listening to people specifically that love Dave Matthews Band. And so when I started this podcast, I really wanted to focus, and I have continued to, I think, carry out this mission, but I really wanted to hear the fan side of the Dave Matthews Band. Yes, this podcast is about the Dave Matthews Band. However, it's really more about, it really is about the fans behind this band. This band has literally been making music for over 32 years now. But what's crazy about the fan base is we do have our original, our OG fans that have been there since 91, and took place in all the tape trading and the things that just make the history of this band fucking amazing. And it's contagious just to hear people talk about their voyage, their trip, if you will, with the Dave Matthews Band. And so that's what this podcast is about. So if this is your first time to listen to this, welcome to the Space Between podcast. I called it the Space Between, not because that's my favorite song. Yes, I love it more now because it means different things to me now. But I called it the Space Between because I literally, like I said a few minutes ago, I was a nurse that took a year off to kind of find herself and figure out what made me happy and try to fill my heart a little bit. So I felt like I was in a space between what I was in the past and what I was meant to be in the future, right? So it was my space between. And so that's what, that was my reasoning behind naming it this. And then, of course, yes, Dave Matthews Band happens to have a song called The Space Between. And so really it's been amazing for like marketing this podcast because everybody's like, oh yeah, I can totally remember that, right? And that's honestly like one of the funny side jokes when I can't even believe I'm going to say this, but yeah, 2023 has been a good year. And so when I got to meet Dave Matthews this year in May, in Rogers, Arkansas, I told him about my podcast. And if you haven't heard my full story about me talking with Dave about my podcast, listen back a little further to my May podcast and you'll get to hear the whole story. It's really hilarious and amazing. And I can't believe I did it. And it did it so well. And I'm just so fucking happy that I was able to like use my words like an adult, right? Use your words. I was totally an adult. But anyways, I told him, Space Between. It's not a podcast about you. It's a podcast about the fans. And so it's just, this whole ride it's been amazing. So let's talk about 2023. So we are in the first, week of not having a show going on. Yes, they did take a little break in August, or I guess that was kind of a big break, but we're in a break again, right? And well deserved, right? The boys have killed it this year, literally over and over and over, and just have almost, no, I'm not going to say almost, they have completely built their speed as they went along, kind of just like a train, right? Or a car, or whatever. You just like built up momentum and speed, and like, the faster they went through the tour, the more I was like, holy fuck, like this band. I don't even have the words for this, but this has been a banner year for the band. I think it's been a banner year for the fans of the band, because we've seen so much history in this one year. And not that we haven't seen history in years before. I'm not saying that, but with this being an album drop year, so we knew we were going to get new music, but did we ever think that we were going to get all the new music that just literally came out as this tour started, but we were also going to get some of the deepest dives in their book of songs. We got those, right? Songs we never thought we would get to hear. We got them mixed in with brand new fucking music, and mixed in with things we've never heard before. And I mean, what a year. What a year. I mean, every year is amazing with the Dave Matthews Band, but this year has really just, maybe it's me. I don't know. You'll have to like message me and tell me, is this the way you feel about the 2023 year? Like, do you feel that it's just felt different, that it is different? And I know that's kind of a hard question too, because with the evolution of this band, obviously it has gone through so many changes, right? But like, does this feel different to you in a good way? Or hey, hit me up if this feels bad to, you know, if this was not your year. You thought 2023 was the worst year. I'm here to hear what fans think of the band. So I'm not scared of people to say, you know what, this was just not really my cup of tea. Okay, let's talk about that. Like, I love a good conversation from someone else's perspective, right? So that's what this podcast is about, is being able to have a safe space where it's not message boards where you're going to get crucified if you say something negative. Now, let me pause that for just a second and say, well, this is a place of love, right? It's a safe space. So on this podcast, we can say how we feel without being hateful. We understand that people have different feelings and different ideas and different passions and so many different things, but that's what makes us a family, right? Because family is crazy and different beliefs and so, but this is a safe space where people can talk about their experiences, whether it's good or bad. And so I'd love to hear what you thought of 2023 versus any other year before that. So, I mean, goddamn, they just started like in Texas with a fucking bang, right? You know, I mean, I was there, so thankful to have been to the first several shows. And if you weren't following the podcast back in the beginning, the Space Between had the incredible opportunity to go to the first 10 shows on the road. We met so many amazing fans, so many amazing people. And again, we were just sharing the story of the fans across the nation. So this year the Space Between has been to 20 shows so far this, and just before you start judging that, again, this is a space of love. This year is going to be different for me than any other year ever will be. I don't look to go to 20 shows next year. I look to maybe go to 1 or 2 next year, right? Because I don't get paid to fucking do this, right? So again, this is a passion project. It's something that I've just been so thankful to get the opportunity to do, to hear people's stories, because God, there's some amazing stories out there. Stories of people that got found, stories of people that got lost, stories of people that, you know, found love. I mean, just so many stories that all circle around the Dave Matthews Band. So, gosh, it's just been an amazing, amazing year. So we're moving towards the fall. And so this is the part of the podcast where I'm going to call it, Where Are You Going?
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Rich from the Eddie Casino Band out in Las Vegas. We're really excited to get this journey going, celebrating our music, our original music. on all platforms. We just released our first single over Labor Day weekend called Eddie Casino. If you're looking for new music, look out for our next single coming out to Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Apple Music. These guys in the band are really excited to get started playing music for you all. If you like Tom Petty, Zach Brown, Jason Mraz, Dave Matthews Band, Rob Thomas, Jimmy Buffett, Pink Floyd, Stapleton, Bare Naked Ladies, Goose, Billy Strings, Sting and the Police, a ton of influences that we bring to the table. Hope you enjoy our music and look forward to seeing you soon live on stage.
Where are you going with your long face?
So the fall tour is just, basically a few weeks away. I mean, it's going to be here in a blink of an eye. The summer sure went by really fast, so I don't imagine that this month or next month will go by very slowly, although it's a different pace of life, right? Like our kids are back in school. The weather's changing. There's college football. Like there's a different feeling in the air. It's all happening. But thankfully with all of those good things also comes a fall tour with the Dave Matthews Band. And so, they're going to start in November, November 7th to be exact. And they're starting it in Savannah, Georgia, which it's, honestly, what a great time to go to Georgia. The South in November is beautiful. I always say that October is my favorite month in the South, but sometimes October can be hot. So November in Georgia should be lovely. Then we move to Greenville, South Carolina. And then November 10th and 11th is Charlottesville. And we'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. But then November 13th and 14th, we're going to Connecticut to the Mohegan Sun Arena, which I think is a casino. So that would be really fun. November 17th and 18th, of course, closes out the fall tour with 2 nights at MSG. So, and then of course in December, the band goes on to their South Africa tour. And so that's really exciting. And if you are going to South Africa and you would like to report some stories live from South Africa, dude, hit me up, message me. I would love for you to help me bring the story from South Africa because, that's just a whole nother, obviously, like that's a whole nother continent, right? But even on the other side of the world, there are Dave Matthews Band fans. And that's something that I try to remind myself, but other people as well, is like, this is an American band. Yes. Absolutely. Started America, blah, blah, blah. But if you know the history of, one of the band members, well, no, 2 now, but originally 1, but, South Africa, so, and I don't know. It's just an amazing place that I can't imagine being. I definitely looked into it and, if I won the lottery, I'm definitely going, but so far that's not happening. So anyways, I'd love to hear from you if you're going to South Africa. So the fall tour, I'm so excited. I'm going to make it to one of those stops. Well, I guess technically 2 because it is 2 nights. My husband and I are going to Charlottesville and I've, of course, as a fan of the band, you hear of Charlottesville, the history. And if you don't, if you're listening to this and you're not a deep diver, I guess like I am, read about the history of this band, where it was started and how just, friends meeting friends who happen to be musicians. I mean, the story behind this band is really, really, to me, it's just fascinating how the backstories of things. I love that. I'm a huge documentary fan in general. So if you were to go through my Netflix or anything like that, you're going to see that I'm watching every documentary, typically about bands or drugs or something like that. I don't know. I'm a nurse, so it's education. So get your head out the gutter. But anyways, Charlottesville, I'm so excited to get to. I'm gonna come in a few days early. We're gonna come in on Thursday, which I guess technically is just night 0. But I want to see how much I can do when I'm there, and I will update you exactly on what that looks like because we've really got some cool plans for Charlottesville. So definitely stay tuned. And speaking of staying tuned, I hope that you're connected on our social media platforms. we are literally, well, we're not on everything because I can't be on everything. I also have a full-time job. It's hard to do it all, but I'm doing it. So we're on Facebook. It's a group. Obviously, it's called the Space Between Podcast, and then it says a DMB family group. So hop over there. Definitely join our group. I do update people once a day. So if that's not your thing, hey, don't do it. But like, it is a cool place to keep up with what is future episodes. You know, I've had the opportunity to interview so many amazing fans. Even on the level of like, I just got to interview or meet up with the Dave Matthews Tribute Band. It was an amazing interview, an amazing experience to get to know those fans who are also musicians and pay tribute to the original sound of the Dave Matthews Band. So that was an amazing episode of just, so many great opportunities. I'm so thankful to be doing this, guys. Like, you have no idea, like, the therapy that this podcast has been for me. And I'm so thankful that so many of you have just like come up to me, and it just surprises me every time because I'm like, who the fuck would want to listen to me? I'm just talking about something that I love. And, you know, a lot of people love this band. So thank you for listening. It's crazy. It's crazy, all of this. And I'm so thankful for all of this. I've had the opportunity to meet so many people, and so many opportunities are headed the way of the podcast. Y'all, this is just not even happening. It really does feel like a dream. And I remember being at a concert, and, there, of course, is a song where Dave says, "Dream, little darling, dream." And I just took that so personal, right? Like, I just made those few words very personal. And I said, why can't I chase my dreams? Why can't I talk about a band, and it not be weird? But even more, can I talk about the fans of the band? Because yeah, the music is addicting, and like, I love it. And I listen to it almost every day if possible. And, I don't know, just the fans behind this band have been everything. Some of my best friends I've met through the Dave Matthews Band. And I've, you know, had the luxury of hearing other people say the exact same thing, you know, that they met their soulmate at a Dave Matthews Band concert. I just met someone that got engaged at the Gorge at a Dave Matthews Band concert. You know, there are just there's so many stories of love within this community. And I think it's time to hear some stories about love, right? Because to me, like, I wake up and I get ready to go to work, and all I hear is negativity on the TV, like negative, like feeding me negativity every morning before I try to go out and be a decent human. Well, that's really hard when all that negative shit is like built up on you, like given to you, like spoon in the mouth, fed to you all the time. And so what if we just talk about something positive, right? What if we just talk about the things that we love and the people that we love, and we just focus on love? And even though like we're not perfect and we're going to fuck up and mess up, and like, I promise you that's going to happen. Cause none of us are perfect, but we're all doing it the same, right? And like, those are the lyrics I keep going back to, is that we're all doing it the same. So guys, I say all that to say I have some big things coming up. So thank you so much for listening to this. Again, I didn't even finish the social medias that we are. If nothing else, I am just like a bumblebee that flies around and just like plants on things and then flies off and like plants on something else. That's kind of how my brain works. So welcome to my podcast, The Space Between. So I say all that to say I have some fun things coming up. Be sure to stay tuned on my socials. Again, I said Facebook. It's under a group, The Space Between Podcast. We're on Insta. I always say we. I am on Instagram. It's The Space Between _ POD for podcast. So The Space Between _ POD. And then let's see. I think I'm on Threads, which if you're on that, I don't post on that much because it's all weird. Like, it's all weird. And then I'm on TikTok. I don't post on that much either, but like my kids said it'd be cool if I had it. So I'm still not cool, and I have TikTok. So what the fuck? Anyways, guys, definitely stay tuned on our socials. You can always message me through Facebook. I will be the first to admit that I'm not the best at checking my messages, but I will eventually do it. So definitely send me a message if you are headed to South Africa. If you're interested in sharing your story, your Dave story, I'd love to hear what you have. And then it's just as, being on this podcast is pretty stinking easy. If you've ever done a Zoom meeting, then you can be on this podcast. So if you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, that is one more social media, I guess, if you will, that we are on. Thanks to my editor, who is also a big fan of the Dave Matthews Band, Mr. Andy Mendoza, all the way from Austin, Texas. Be sure to check him out on YouTube, just his page alone. He is at a lot of shows. He is passionate about the band. And when he can, he records from fairly close to the stage and uploads those to YouTube in like the highest resolution and all that stuff. So he's got several videos up that are just so good. I watch them often when I'm like folding laundry and I'm like, oh, I just want to be at a Dave show or whatever. I'll turn it on. And he does a great job of making you feel like you're there, right? So check out his YouTube channel, Andy Mendoza. And then The Space Between has a YouTube that of course is ran by my editor, Andy Mendoza. And so we're on YouTube. So you can watch a lot of our podcasts, which was fun when we were with like the Dave Matthews Tribute Band. And when we were traveling on tour, we had all of that video of fans telling us their story or talking about set lists. So on YouTube, it's just under The Space Between podcast. So be sure to check those out too. And if you want to help me, do me a favor. I cannot explain to you like how helpful this would be. If you get on YouTube, definitely subscribe to our channel. And then the biggest thing that can help me is if you will turn on the instant downloads on your podcast app so that every time I upload, which should be every Friday when I upload a new podcast, you get notified. But not only do you get notified, but I get credit for it getting downloaded. And of course, that's how a podcast works, is we count downloads. So every time you listen to an episode, that's considered a download. And so we are doing so well. I have a personal goal that I want to meet before Charlottesville. So guys, help me out. Listen to some old episodes. I will be the first and maybe the only one, but I tell it like it is. I have some episodes that are maybe not that great. But again, I'm a nurse trying to figure out this. I don't know how to do a podcast, but I'm sitting at my house recording this shit, but then also just really been fortunate to get out and meet a lot of really cool people who have a lot of amazing things to say too. So definitely download those episodes, comment on everything. I love to hear from people. Don't ever think it would be weird to talk to me, because that's what I'm asking you to do. So I appreciate everyone's help and support in me telling this story of love behind the Dave Matthews Band. So guys, thank you so much again for listening to this episode. It's just a short but sweet for certain podcast. Last thing, this might be the most important thing. So definitely don't hit stop yet and don't change the channel or anything like that. Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, so I just went to the Gorge, right? For my very first time. I scored an amazing Sperry poster. Actually, I didn't get it. Thanks to a friend. I'm just so excited about this poster. God, it's everything. I'm not a huge poster collector, but I love this poster. So I can't wait to show you guys I took it to Hobby Lobby today and I'm having it framed. So excited about that. But I say all that to say, I did do a full, probably going to be 2-part podcast that walks you through the pilgrimage of the Gorge, right? So if you've never been to the Gorge, if you're interested in going, or you've been and you just want to see what my experience was like, stay tuned. Within the next 2 weeks, I want to say, I'm trying to give me and Andy enough time to really get all of this information together, get it laid out perfectly. I want this episode to be really good and reflective of what it looks like to go to the Gorge. So stay tuned in the next, like I said, next 2 weeks. Those episodes will start popping out. So definitely follow social media to see episode date updates. So be sure to watch for those. It's going to be amazing. I mean, it's from leaving Arkansas, going to Washington and back, and the experience that is there for you in 2024 if you should desire to have that experience. So guys, thanks again so much. I hope that everyone has a great weekend. Guys, peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band.